Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Well, we'll just give it a minute for everyone to join, right? I think we should be good. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Carnegie Young Leaders info session. We're really grateful that you're joining us and for the interest in the program, whether for yourself or if you're an adult ally who's interested in getting more information for the young people in your network. We're really excited to share more about the program and answer any questions that you have. Before we get started, we wanted to take a moment to ask you to, and Sahai, if you mind moving the slides one more. Yep. So if you don't mind just dropping in the chat, which everyone should be able to do, share where you're calling in from, and also a few words to describe the issue in your community that you're hoping to tackle. Oh, Princeton. See some New York, New Jersey, Texas, Virginia, Florida, Ohio, Maine.
I saw Texas, California, and DC.
Hmm. Frisco, Texas, Washington, Tennessee, from all over the country. Great. Well, we're very excited and grateful that you've joined us. We also just wanted to take a moment to introduce ourselves. Audra, if you wanted to go first.
Sure, thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Audra Watson, and I am the Chief of Youth Civic Programs at CNS. And I am so glad that you're here with us today. And I'll pass it to Jason.
Hi, all. My name is Jason Kramer. I work at CNS, and it is nice to meet everyone and hope this is going to be some very helpful information for you all. And I'll pass it along back to Christina.
Well, hello everyone. Christine Foley, I'm the program officer for youth civic programs at CNS. I primarily do work on the Carnegie Young Leaders program. So for the most part might be your main contact with the program, and the whole team, we work to support with project implementation and keeping you guys engaged in the Young Leaders Network. So very excited to have you all here. And Sahai, if we could move to the next slide. So what we're going to be discussing today, Audra will be sharing some information about the program, kind of like where it came from, where it started, the general. Sorry, one moment. Okay. Yeah, so some general stuff, some key components of the program, what you'll get, who should apply, a breakdown of the application, and then you'll have a chance to hear from two of our current CYL fellows, team leads who are on the field doing great work in their communities through a live Q&A, and then also just next steps for applying to the program or getting involved or sharing the opportunity with young folks in your network.
So I get the opportunity to talk a little bit about why you're here, how we came to have this program. So I don't know if how many of you saw, but recently we rebranded. And so with that rebrand, one of the things that we are seeking to do is to spark 20 million young people ages 14 to 24 to become civic problem solvers in their communities. And so CNS is the organization that runs this Carnegie Young Leaders program. This program, the Carnegie Young Leaders program, came from a smaller program that we started in 2020 during the pandemic, when young people needed ways to get out into their communities and really work on things. And so at that time, what we had was a number of projects that worked on things in their community, like issues in their schools. We had a couple of teams that worked on that. We had teams that worked on issues in the environment or environmental issues. And so this was our real opportunity. We believe that young people are the problem solvers that are going to lead us out of some of the challenges that we have today. And what we are seeing, not only do we believe it, we are seeing that young people are the problem solvers that will help us to solve some of the really deep challenges. And how we know that, if we could move to the next slide, is that we know the country is divided. 57% of young people are saying that the country is deeply dissatisfied, is deeply divided, and that they're dissatisfied with the current state of democracy. Last summer, we launched the Gen Z Civic Vibe Check. And so some of these statistics are coming from that survey of young people across the country. But what was really exciting is that we also learned that while a lot of young people, more than half of young people, feel dissatisfied with what's happening in the country, that 90% of young people, 14 to 24, are saying that they really care about their communities and they want to do something to help support their communities. In addition to that, what we know young people are saying is that they don't want to do this alone. They want to do this with their friends and their peers. And so 49% of the young people who responded to that survey said, we want to do this and we are compelled by the things that our peers are doing. But the issue for many of the young people that we heard from was that they didn't know where to start. And this is the Carnegie Young Leaders program is a solution to that problem. Part of what we are trying to do is to put you in community with other young people and give you the tools and the resources to support you in taking the idea that you have to be able to implement those ideas. And so that's the work that happens in the program. I'm going to give you also a little bit more about the program so that you know about that. If we can move to the next slide, just a big overview of the program. And then what Christine will do is talk you through sort of how do you apply to the program and some of the nuts and bolts of the program. So if we go to the next slide, what we're doing is we are taking this next generation of change makers. We're looking for this next group to join us. Currently, we have 100 teams, and they are working in 20. They're conducting their projects in 26 states and in Washington, D.C., some of the states that you have said that you are from. So we are looking for another 100 teams to join this growing community of young people and saying, you know what? I know what an issue is in my community and I want to tackle it, and I just need the help and support to do that. So we equip you all with those tools to deal with the real world challenges. And because we know you have bold, fresh civic ideas, we want you to be able to do that in a community with your peers. So one of the things you'll hear Christine talk about is that community of practice. But the key skills that we really want young people to learn that we believe are the solution to some of the really big problems that need to be solved is the ability to collaborate and to do that really effectively and productively with people who may not see things the way you do. And that's the way to make a lasting impact and to have engage in understanding with other people. And so those are the other thing. So those are sort of the big concepts of the program. And so we help you bridge divides. So in your projects, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to engage with people we think are the key stakeholders on the problem that you're tackling, and be able to figure out where are the points of difference and how can you come to some common solutions together. We also want you all to use your lived experience, right? So we don't want to give you and assign you a project. This is really about things that you are seeing in the world, things that affect you, things that affect your communities. And also importantly, we want to do this particularly for young people who don't have ready access to civic engagement opportunities. We call those civic deserts. So oftentimes in civic deserts, there are very few opportunities, if there are any, to be able to make this kind of impact and to do this kind of work. So we are looking for our projects. Some of the metrics that we're looking for is that we expect that a project that you're going to implement is going to reach at least 75 people in person, and then virtually you would be able to reach at least 300 people through different virtual programs. So key to this program is not that you're just pursuing something that is important to you, but that it's something that is also going to make a difference for other people in your community and will inspire others to be engaged in it. And one of the things that that's important to us is that these our priority is having young people engage in projects that are going to bring people together. So as I mentioned before, this notion of collaborative problem solving. So in thinking about as you move forward with your application, and we hope all of you will, continue to move forward with the application process, that you are thinking about how are you going to engage collaboratively. So I wanted to lift up just 3 of the 100 projects that we have, and then you'll hear directly from 2 other team leads. So young people are working on lots of different programs. There is no cookie cutter in terms of what the project should be. It's not just about voting. We think voting and voter education is really important, but there are other issues that are challenges within communities that young people are lifting up. So one example is Project Demos in Ohio, which is aimed at amplifying and ensuring that student voices are engaged in local decision making, right? So how do we hear youth voices in things that not only will be important to them in the long term, but are going to affect them now? Agree to Disagree. They just had a good success. The Agree to Disagree team in Florida just had a major event that pulled together, I think it was 200 people, where community members from the college campus, faculty, staff came together with students to engage in civil and respectful discourse, despite the differences that they had in their perspectives. And then finally, the last project that I wanted to lift up is one out of Maryland, which wants to focus on ensuring that every family can effectively navigate the criminal justice system, regardless of language. And we have a number of teams that are working on issues regarding immigration, issues of language challenges, and things like that. So those are 3 of the projects that we wanted to lift up for you. You'll hear more from our 2 guest panelists, and I want to turn it back over to Christine, who can share more about the nuts and bolts. So like, how do you get through the application and how do you create a team?
Great. Thank you so much, Audra. I always really appreciate hearing the background of how the program started and all the different projects that our fellows are working on. Oops, sorry, kitty. Um, so Some of the key program components, first being you'll be working on a project that you identify yourself. It's an issue that you and your peers or your friends deeply care about that you can address through the programs. In terms of like the program components for support, you will be assigned a coach through our CNS network. And I just want to highlight that a lot of our coaches are previous youth programming fellows. So we always work to bring our fellows who experienced implementing a project in their communities, experience and develop their leadership skills in their communities and with their peers. We bring them back into the program. So a lot of our coaches are young people who went through the same process and project implementation. So you get coaching support, also mentoring. Another component of our program is a community mentor. That is someone that if your team submits an application and is selected, that's someone in your community who knows the space or is involved with the topic that you would like to address, who can really get you connected or steer you in the right direction, while the coach is someone that can provide general like project implementation, leadership support. The community mentor is really someone who can help you with that very specific local or issue that you're working on. And again, the coach is what we would assign you, and then the community mentor you would pick on your own after you were selected for the program. Another component of the program is a community of practice. We meet bi-monthly, generally in the evenings. We are revisiting the community of practice dates, so we don't have them finalized right at this moment, but we try to be mindful of different time zones. We've got fellows from all across the country, so they generally do take place during the weekdays in the evening. But during that time, fellows have an opportunity to present and share information with their peers on their projects, any challenges and successes that they've had, an opportunity to network with each other and discuss like how they've been able to collaborate with each other or with stakeholders for their project implementation. We also include some professional development, if it fits into the time. So we try to bring fellows together, and that is for all fellows, not just the team lead. So all fellows benefit from the community of practice. Another component, which it's on a later slide, is the stipends, which is a big factor for folks. You want to get the work done, but how do you do it without the money to do so? So we'll touch on that as well. So who can apply? Young people age 14 to 24-year-old at the time of applying to the program. It's fine if you turn 25 during the program itself, but 14 to 24 at the time of application. Based in the United States and the 50 states and Washington, D.C., you will need to submit an application with an already formed team of 5 people, one team lead who will take on some more of the coordinating and logistics responsibilities and being like the main liaison of sorts with the program, and then 4 team members and fellows. So 5 people total. Don't worry if you don't have a full team right now. We do highly suggest that you search or, put out feelers in your local community or with your friends. A lot of fellows working with their friends has made their projects really fun and also easy in terms of communication because, you're all in the same community. But if you'd really like to participate and you don't have a full team, reach out to us, let us know. We'll try to get you connected with other young people who might be in the same situation. So don't fret about that. In terms of fellows and teams themselves, we are looking for a diverse representation of individuals. We want to make sure that we have a class of fellows who bring a wide variety of perspectives, which is very important to this work. brings us back to the idea of collaborating with others who might not see things the same way, but at the end of the day, we're all working towards making the community better for each other. Next slide. Who should apply? By the end of this second cohort, we are looking to have teams from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. from across the country. So everyone, regardless of where you are in the United States, are welcome to apply. We are targeting this year, we are targeting some states that we don't have representation in our current cohort, but even if we have states from those cohorts, please do apply. We look at all applications and all teams. So anyone within the United States is welcome. All right, why apply? Build your skills as a leader, as a civic leader, develop project planning skills, experience implementing a community-based project with your friends or your peers. Networking, you could join a cohort of 500 young people who are also working on issues in their communities, and working on their civic leadership skills. And then you will also be joining the previous cohort of 500 fellows who've already been through this by the time that you join. So you'll be able to connect with everyone and join a really immersive cohort of young leaders across the nation. It has to be said, helps sharpen your resume. And it will help you stand out against competitive applications for college and careers with real immersive live experience working on projects in your community and working on leadership skills with your peers and with your friends. You also create a lasting impact in your community. One thing that we also emphasize with the program is sustainability of the work that you're doing. So when you think about your project, it shouldn't just be, okay, so I'm just going to be doing this for 1 year. That's it. One thing that our fellows are also thinking about is how to make sure that the work that they've started lasts, even if they're unable to continue it themselves. So just creating that lasting impact in your community is also just really important to think about as you're applying. And then, last but very much not least, funding. Each team gets up to $7,500 in funding. The team lead, because they will be doing more coordination and communication between team members and also the program staff itself, they receive $2,500. Each team member receives $1,000, and then separately, each team is eligible to apply for up to $1,000 to support project implementation itself. And we can go over that when we go over the application, because there's a section on budget and funding. So we'll go over like some of the expectations about how to put together a budget for the work. But eligibility and expectations. So what we hope for in applications is teams to come to the application with a vision for change for an issue, a problem in their community. It could be a lived experience. It could be through research or surveys that you've taken in the community, but a real verifiable issue in the community, and also a realistic plan for how you plan to address or tackle it. Teams are expected to commit about 5 to 7 hours per month. It's a little more for team leads because, again, they will be doing some more of the coordination and leading the rest of the team for about the 10-month period from the start of the program. July 27th is the kickoff to when the final report is due, June 2nd. Some teams might spend more time in terms of like the program expectations. This is the minimum that we would generally expect for the time commitment. And then attending our 5 virtual bi-monthly community of practice sessions. Again, that's for everyone. They're in the evenings, once in September, once in November, January, March, and May. And those happen through Zoom. And all of that information will be shared at the start of the program, including like the very specific dates and times where they'll be held, and also the Zoom links. Team leads, what we do is we kick off the program with an immersive in-person kickoff convening. It's 2.5 days. This year it'll be in New Brunswick, New Jersey. We do fly team leads in if you need to fly, and travel stipends are provided. So we operate with like a, teach the leader sort of principle, where team leads will then bring the learnings that they learned from the convening, networking, going over the curriculum, going over any professional development opportunities that we have from maybe past coaches, other individuals in the civic space, and then bring those learnings back to the rest of their team before the start of the actual project implementation. But we have a lot of fun there. Fellows highlighted that as really a really fun time. So you get to connect with peers from across the country who are going to be working on projects. One thing that we do stress is just having access to technology for communication and independent work. Access to Wi-Fi. We do send emails throughout the program. We might send some text messages in the next cohort, but just keeping regular communication and keeping an eye out for program related emails and materials is important. Eligibility and expectations. Well, so there are the bi-monthly meetings that we share. That's expected of everyone. If you're not able to join those, and we know that life happens, some of you have after school activities that you can't get out of. You might have college exams, other exams, some things that you can't get out of in life. We understand that. Our expectation is that people do join, but if you're unable to, we do offer an alternative assignment that's required to count towards attendance for that. So if you've got a busy schedule, don't worry too much. So in terms of coaching, what we would expect is meeting regularly with your assigned coach. We know that folks come into the program from different points in your civic journey. So some fellows might be further in their civic journey or civic leadership than others. Regardless, it is very important to make use of and take advantage of the coaching. Generally, the expectation is to meet once monthly, just to discuss the goals for the month, any challenges, and how to tackle that. There will be a mandatory pre and post program survey, and also actually bi-monthly surveys to address program progress and learning. There's a mid-year team report that the team submits together. You don't have to submit individual for each fellow. And that's pretty relatively low lift, just to get a sense of where your team is at, what might have changed with your project. And also another thing I'd like to highlight, you don't have to stick to the same project plan that you originally submitted in your application. We understand that some things happen. Maybe some stakeholders weren't as open to your project idea as you might have hoped, or maybe there are some roadblocks that you came across, or maybe you realized that, hey, to better get to our goal, we actually need to do this instead of what we originally designed. So that's completely fine. And we encourage fellows to learn and shift and prioritize as you go. So another thing that we gather in the mid-year report is where are you guys now? And then there will be a final team report that will be more comprehensive and just get a better sense of the different pieces of your project and leadership through the year. In terms of deadline, the priority deadline, if you have a team ready. If you have an idea and if you have everything ready, feel free to apply by March 30th. Because if you apply by then, we will be able to share a priority deadline notification, just letting you know whether you made it or whether we would like to review your application with the rest of the application pool. But if you want to get your summer plans more set a little earlier, feel free to. But the formal applications close May 4th, and then we notify everyone who applied by then by June 1st, which is when you have a month to submit agreements, contracts, payment details, because we need to pay you, and some other onboarding information. In terms of the fellowship year, the program kicks off in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Team leads. Unfortunately, we can only support the attendance of the team lead or a team representative if the team lead is not able to physically attend. So that'll be in New Brunswick from July 27th to 29th. There will be 5 virtual community of practice sessions, September, November, January, March, and May in the evenings, to be decided. A mid-year report due January 27th. We try our best to give fellows enough time before the Christmas break to complete that. And then a final report due June 2nd, which is when the program concludes. All right. So application breakdown, which might be why many of you are here. So in the application, we start with team lead eligibility and information. We collect this because, again, the team lead is the person who will be the main contact with the program and kind of like help corral and support logistics and communication with the rest of the team members. We'd like to know more about you, and really get to know you as the team lead. We also ask for team member information. It might seem like a lot when you're filling it out and there's like 4 different pages, one for each team member, but it's very important for us to get the necessary full information for your team members so that if your application is selected, that we can readily send out the onboarding packet and agreements. One thing to note, if anyone on your team, including yourself, is under the age of 18, we do need parent information, and parents should be aware of the program because we do share the onboarding packets to get parental permission as well for anyone under the age of 18. Right? And then in terms of the project proposal, I just want to pull this up. In terms of project proposal, in the application itself, under the project proposal section, we do link to a template. You don't have to follow this exactly. We just ask a few questions to get you thinking so that you can make sure that you touch on all the pieces of information that we need to consider your application. That involves like what the issue that you are seeking to address, like what is this issue? Why does it matter? How did you figure this out? What evidence is there? How did you come about this? Who is impacted, like the population that's directly impacted? It could be an age group, a certain neighborhood, an identity, a status. How are they impacted by the issue? And also, very importantly, what solution are you proposing? Essentially, what do you want to do with your project and how are you going to tackle that? How many people you'll reach? We do ask that you do a little bit of research on any local organizations that might already be working on the issue. This is to get you start to thinking about potential partnerships or collaborations or trying to fill a gap that those organizations might have, so that you're filling a gap instead of duplicating the work. Your vision for change, like what are your short-term and long-term goals? What does success look like? And then project milestones, which could be, we want to host 3 workshops by May. Or we want to secure 3 or 5 partnerships with local organizations for this project. So milestones can be very different for each project and also where you are in your project. One thing that I do want to emphasize is you don't have to have a fully formed project plan. We just need to know that, you've put thought into it, you have the issue that you want to address, and you've put together a general sense of what you want to do to address it. It doesn't have to be fully fleshed out. That's also what the coaching support is there for. And again, we're open to changes to your project plan as you actually try to implement it in your community. Another piece of the application is a team video audio submission. Perfectly fine. If you can't all be in the same space, it's perfectly fine to piece different videos or audios together. We know that sometimes, with busy schedule, it's hard to get everyone in the same space. Perfectly fine to do that. I know that that question came up last year and also this year as well. That's really an opportunity for you and your team members to talk about why you're applying to the program and why this work is important to you and why we should select you. And then in terms of budgeting and funding, some teams submit incredibly comprehensive budgets and but what you see on the screen right now, this is actually an example that is in the application itself. Your budget can be as simple as this. It needs to be realistic. For $1,000, like what can you do with $1,000 for project implementation? For example, for this one, I kind of just came up with, okay, well, so we want a website. Let's say some of the funds that we might need for that, let's say it's up to like $250 if we wanted to buy a creative graphic. If we want to have speakers at workshops, some workshop materials, and etc. But it could be as simple as this or more comprehensive, but that's up to you. And then, yep.
So, thank you, Christine, for walking us through the program components and the nuts and bolts of the application and the timeline. I get the opportunity now to introduce 2 of our current Carnegie Young Leaders for civic preparedness, and they are Yaya Kadir and Sunny Poo. And what I'm going to do is just ask them, because we know that our fellows are the best ambassadors of the program, to be able to tell us about their experiences so far. So I'm going to start with you, Yaya. If you could tell us about what motivated you to apply for the CNS program, the Carnegie Young Leaders program.
Yeah, so I was given the opportunity to participate in the CNS program, and honestly, what motivated me to apply was that I needed funding to get my community food project off the ground, and also at the time I had the vision and passion to serve families in my community, but I lacked the financial resources to begin. And
Sorry, Yaya. We're getting some feedback on your microphone, I think it is. So
oh,
it's really staticky.
um, um, shoot, I can like comment on my phone and talk from there if that's a better option.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. But-
I think he
So,
said he
so
tried. Okay.
he's going to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sunny, while Yaya is getting his technology sorted, can you tell us about what motivated you to apply for the program? Tell us about your project and what made you apply for this.
Hello, yeah, I'm Sunny, and I applied to this program via ME voting database. It's now known as Register the Future, but essentially what we do is that we're trying to increase voter participation among immigrants, via voter guides. And what motivated me to apply to this program initially was what's the support and community I would get. Like for example, when it comes to other grants or other programs, you don't really get as much support like actually implementing your program. Sure, you get the money, but you don't have any coaches or you don't have like support, you don't have community around you community of youth leaders around you to actually help you implement that project appropriately and properly. And I think what initially drove me to like apply to this was realizing that I would actually get a coach to support me as well as like a community of other youth leaders who I could get advice from.
Thank you, Sunny. So I'll ask you the next question, and then when Yaya comes back, we'll catch him up. So can you talk about, I know sometimes people get stuck on the application because they're like, how do I form a team? Can you talk a little bit about how you decided to form your team? What was your process like?
So my process when forming a team was getting people around me, like close to me, that were also interested in the same things I was. For example, my entire team members were people in debate, and since mine was about voter participation, and everyone I knew was interested in like that too, I was able to get people around me who was originally like really good friends with to become my team members. And I think that's really important because not only like is it important for them to be interested in what you're actually doing, but also to be close enough so that you can like talk to them however you need and critique them based on their ideas and just be comfortable in the way you're talking to them so that you guys can critique each other's ideas and overall implement your ideas better.
So you talked about the fact that you were interested in immigrant voting. How did you get interested in that as your specific
Right. Thank
project?
you so much for asking. So, I initially got interested within the 2024 elections, in which my parents, they're actually Uyghur, so they don't speak so their language isn't very well known across like America, and it's not very often translated into. And so my parents actually and
Mm.
my abstained from voting. And when I try to convince them, their only rationale behind not voting is that they really couldn't like find accurate, unbiased political information that was translated in their native language, since Uyghur is a very uncommon and unspoken language across America.
Thank you. And I think, Sunny, you provide a really good example of how something that hits you really close and hits the people, like what this program is about is those local challenges. And so not only was it something that you were passionate about, you saw that other people also or other families were having the same issue as well. And so that was what propelled you into this project. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to join us again. So I'm gonna go circle back to the question that I originally asked you. If you could tell us what was the thing that made you decide to apply for the Carnegie Young Leaders program through CNS?
Yeah, first off, I just want to apologize for my mic issues, but
No worries.
what motivated me to apply for the Carnegie program was that I needed funding to get my project off the ground.
Mm.
And at the time, I had the vision to serve families in my community, but I lacked the financial resources to begin, and honestly, motivation too. This CSS program was like a huge factor in getting the ball rolling on my project and kind of adding a lot of professionalism to my project too. And with the support I received from the CSS program, I was able to move from planning to real implementation of my food bank.
Thank you. So sounds like the idea was there, but you needed something to propel you forward. And so
Exactly.
one, the financial resources were able to do that for you. So and we know that young people have a variety of different reasons why they do this program. And so you all are touching on a number of the things. Yeah. I also asked Sunny this question. Can you talk about how you went about forming your team? Because we know that different teams were formed in different ways.
Yeah, a huge part of my project was my team. And for me, I ended up recruiting my close childhood friends who were passionate about helping the community. They actually did not know beforehand that I was planning on launching a food bank.
Mm.
But once I saw the application for the Carnegie Fellowship, I asked them to, and they all immediately agreed. It was really nice to have your close friends be supporting you in your community project. And
I love.
honestly, oh, and one
Sorry, go
thing
ahead.
Yeah, one thing that I want to say is that the team doesn't have to be professionals, experts, or highly experienced individuals. They just have to be people whose company you enjoy, people who are willing to take initiative, and people that are willing to donate time and commit to solve issues in their community. And also, my friend's involvement made the project a lot more exciting and a lot more enjoyable for me.
I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, so can you talk about, so Yaya, you talked about that you had been thinking about doing the food drive in your community. What was it about that particular project that was important to you?
Well, the food bank takes place at a local mosque near me,
Hmm.
and that mosque is very close to me. I've been going there since I was a little kid, so I really wanted to do my community project over there. And I also did some research and like the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission. I live in Cuyahoga County. They state that 59% of the total population in the county are living in food deserts, and food deserts are places where or houses where they live too far away from grocery stores to have access to nutritional food. So that's honestly a huge part of why I wanted to start a food bank to help those people living in food deserts.
Thank you. And Sunny, was there any data or statistics that you looked at? Like, what sort of research did you do to try and, it started from a personal place, but what other kind of data points or information did you pull on or draw on to decide, what, this is not just a family problem, but this is a larger problem for our community?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So I can't remember specific numbers now, but I can
Hmm.
remember doing my research for this project and then like finding out that a significant that around like I believe there was a number between like 30 to 40% of people who like English wasn't their first language, they felt less inclined to vote if their materials weren't translated into their like native language. And I remember that like statistic being really striking with me because I felt like she was unexplored and I felt
Oh my.
great. And I just like we're not like producing our translated materials as much as we can, despite us having such a diversity of people.
Thank you. Okay, so final question for both of you. Can you talk a little bit about how the program, or final question from me, and then we'll open up the floor to participants, is how has the program helped shift your thinking or grow the impact of your project? Like what's changed? Christine mentioned that that some of the projects have changed and not just to change, but like what things did you need to shift in your thinking or do differently to make your program more impactful?
All right. Well, for me, Carnegie really showed me that how to lead as a team leader, and that kind of emphasized on how my project just really needed a leader to get it started. It also showed that the key to creating a lasting impact is to work with people who have different perspectives.
Mm,
For me, the people that had different perspectives were some locals at the mosque. They kind of thought that the food project should take place inside the mosque and not outside on the parking lot. So they were saying that the weather was not good enough for it to be outdoors. But we solved that issue by buying heaters and buying canopies and stuff like that. So we kind of found some middle ground. And since I was talking to people with different perspectives, it really made the experience more efficient. And yeah.
thank you. Sunny.
Yeah, so I guess what really changed with this program is that first, this might sound a bit awkward, but I realized I could rely more on the community and more about the just on not just like virtually via this program, but also in person. Like for example, I got a really so we for my organization we created this forum. I was able to like get the idea to
Oh,
get me with
sorry,
help me with this
Sunny.
candidate.
Sunny, can you say that one more time? You broke up for a minute.
Oh yeah, sorry. So basically, I got the idea on relying on other organizations within my neighborhood to help me create this candidate forum. And I think and I only got that idea through another fellow from this program, Taji Cooper, who's the founder of Pencils and Prisons. And she gave me a lot of good insight and mentorship about how I need to like rely more on the communities and the neighbor and the organizations around me, just not like creating this idea by myself and trying to implement it by myself.
That's wonderful. So the power of, I mean, there's a lot, not enough, but there's a lot of good work happening, but it's better to do things in collaboration so people aren't doing duplicating efforts and are really meeting people where the need is. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to both of you because we know how busy you are with school and everything, and then taking on this project and all the other wonderful things that you do. As I said at the start of this, you guys are like wonderful ambassadors, and you can talk about this experience in a way that Jason, Christine, and I can't talk about the experience. So I want to pivot to the to the to the audience so that we answer some of your questions. And so there were some questions that came up in the registration as you registered for this event that we wanted to start with, and then we'll open up the floor. So what's the criteria for selection and what makes a standout application? So a strong application is going to show that your team really understands the problem, as both Yaya and Sunny said. They've done some research to figure out what really is at the root of the issue, who is impacted by the issue, and those sort of things. Your application should really reflect your personal connection to the issue and should be, clear about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You don't have to have all the answers, but it should be clear that you've put some thought into what you are trying to do, and it should be complete. So there are a number of things that you need to do. We need your project narrative. We need the video audio submission, and I want to say about the video audio submission, like, there's what's in black and white that you write down, and then the video audio really gives you an opportunity to show your personalities and really show why the project is important to you and why being a part of this particular community is important to you. So just making sure that it's thorough, it's complete, and that you've thought about the issue. A second question, what types of projects are encouraged? Is there a preference for projects that are already underway or haven't launched yet? We don't have a preference. What our preference is that there is a diversity of kinds of projects. It can be already underway, but if it's already underway, what we really want you to be able to do is show how this program and the resources, the coaching, et cetera, are going to take your project to the next level. And if it's so if you're a part of an organization that has many more young people as a part of it, you're going to have to really decide who are the 4 additional people. I'm assuming that you all, those of you who are here and decide that you want to apply, that you're going to, you'll likely be the team leader. You're going to need to have 4 other people who work with you. And if you have to choose from 10, you're going to have to make some tough decisions about who's going to join you in this initiative. So either is not a problem as long as it addresses an issue in your community. Do applicants put together their own teams? What if I don't have a complete team? So so you should put together your own team, but we are here to help as much as we can help. Because you all know your context better, you'll be able to figure out who are the young people, who are the other peers in your networks that might be interested in this. You could, for those of you who are in school, you might want to reach out to a teacher or another adult to find out who are other people that might be interested in the same things that you're interested in. You heard 2 different examples of how teams were formed. One, it could be your closest friends. It could also be acquaintances. So I'm cognizant of time, and I think we have 4 minutes left. So here's some other questions that came up. For this upcoming cohort of applications, does CNS know how many teams that we will be selecting? We will be selecting up to 100 teams. Our goal is to get to all 50 states, to have 100 new teams, and to get to all 50 states. And of course, there will be states that have already been in the mix. So please do not let that discourage you. Does the March 30th deadline receive priority consideration or a higher acceptance rate? Not necessarily. What we want to be able to do, because last year we got 300 applications from teams, we need to be able to begin the review process early, and we want to be able to get a sense of the interest in the program. How competitive is the program? I'll say it is competitive, but that should not stop you from applying. We are looking for, and I think Christine said this earlier, we are looking for young people who are in different places in their civic journey. So teams that are just starting out, they're looking at this issue for the first time, teams that may be further along the way, and then teams that may already have a program or an organization in place that they want to build and move to the next level. If selected, are the stipends for team leads and team members meant to go to the initiative, or are they for personal use? So there are two kinds of stipends. There is the stipend that goes to the team lead and the team member. Team lead, $2,500, because they are the person who needs to organize and make sure everybody is doing what they need to do and the project is moving ahead. Team members get $1,000. Separately is up to $1,000 to help implement the program. So that was that program budget that that Christine showed. That showed you, so up to $1,000. Do you have any tips for creating a suitable budget plan, especially for a group that hasn't considered budgeting yet? I think just think about what you want to accomplish on the end, and then think about what are the activities that need to happen in order to accomplish those goals. And then think about, all right, does it involve food? They're like sort of big buckets of expenses that you might think about. Supplies, if you have speakers, honoraria, those sort of things. Think about, so begin with the end in mind is how you should think about that. I'm in middle school. I captured not all of them, but I'm in middle school. Can I apply? And this was an earlier question, so I won't. So again, you need to be between 14 and 24 at application phase, while at application phase.
And just to confirm, that should be for both the team lead and all team members.
Yes, for team lead and all team members. I want to be sure, what is the criteria for selection? What I think I talked about that, or did I? So a strong standout application that addresses all the components of the project. So we're going to go to next steps. I know Christine and I we can hang around and answer some questions that have not been answered. But the next steps, and Christine, do you want me to hand this back over to you?
Sure. So next steps, form your teams. I know that there's a lot of questions about what do we do if we don't have a full team? Like, what do we do with our application? Form your teams first, then submit your application once you have your team and the project that you want to do and all the information that we ask for in the application. Again, if you are having trouble finding a team, we really suggest that you first search amongst your friends or people at school or in your community first, because it's a lot of fun when you're working with folks that are more deeply connected with the issue. If you can't find someone, let us know. We'll be happy to try and connect you with other folks who need some additional team members and are interested in similar topics. But yes, Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? Because I remember seeing a
Yeah.
question in the feed. Somebody said, do the team members have to all be in the same area? No, you can have a virtual project, but the thing that you should consider and should make note of in your application is how are you going to ensure that with different potential time zones, different schedules, etc., how are you going to be able to make it work? So we have teams that are virtual teams where young people are living in different places and they work, but you need to consider, the challenges posed by not all being in the same place and, just everybody is busy. Sorry, Christine, I just remembered that had come up as a question.
No, no, of course. Yeah, so build your team. If you have everything ready and you're confident, you can apply by March 30th, which will let you know by mid-April of our decision, whether, you're in the program or whether we'd like to review your application with the rest of the applications that we receive at the final deadline. But you can absolutely, if you need the time, take until May 4th, but no later than May 4th. We're unable to accept any applications after that. But yeah, so those are the next steps. You can reach our support team at carnegie.outreach@cns.org. But I know that a few of you have reached out to the CNS team directly. Let me see. I have a few links for you. Let me just copy and paste this in here with our direct CYL team. Ooh.
And while you do that, Christine, I just want to once more thank Yaya and Sunny for taking the time to share about your experiences and what you've gotten from the program and what you've learned. We really appreciate your willingness to come and talk about your experiences.
Yes, thank you so much. It's really important to hear from fellows who are on the ground doing the work, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing in your communities. But yeah, so I pasted some links. Oops, I pasted some links in the chat. Also with the email, if you wanted to, if you have like very specific program questions, I pasted our direct team email address, civiceducation@cns.org. If there's any questions that you come up with after this info session, feel free to shoot them at us. We're always happy to answer your questions and connect to help you formulate your project, and get you across the finish line.
And thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you. And Audra, are you okay with staying for a few
Yep,
minutes in case
absolutely.
there are a few more questions that weren't answered? But
Absolutely.
yeah. So if there's any questions that you guys have that we haven't answered, we can spend a few minutes here, so that you might not have to follow up later and you'll get your answers today. But we also don't want to hold Yaya and Sunny, because we know that they're incredibly busy. So thank you so much for joining us. Let me see. I'm trying to see like what hasn't been answered already.
So there were a few more. Sorry, let me just check. There were a few more added in the.
And am I still recording so that folks?
Yes, still recording.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Okay. Is there. So what I want to do is make sure that I'm capturing the newest questions that we haven't tackled. Is there some way to highlight them so that in a different color so that I know? Like I was trying to. Okay, good. Okay, regarding the video application, is it okay if the video is just each of our team members introducing themselves on camera, or is it recommended to have no polished visuals?
Yeah.
Please, we are trying to make this as low barrier as possible, make this possible for you all to do it. Please, you don't have to do anything fancy unless that's who you are and it comes easy to you. Please don't do anything special. Just be who you are, be authentic, and share, why you want to do this, why you'd like to be a part of this program. Trying to make sure I capture all of them. How do we find find data for the importance of our issue? We've done this project for a while and it has been very successful. However, I don't want our project to be held back just because we don't have the most data. We know it's an issue and I don't know if we have time to gather it for a priority. So hard to say because I'm not sure what your issue is, but I mean, first place to go, not that, and vet the information is go online, check the most credible sources that you can check. So if it's a voting issue, check the credible voter organizations. If it's an issue on the environment, there are many credible environmental organizations. There are people in your community that are likely working on this issue. Find out who those people are in your community. You don't have to know necessarily just exactly what their names are, but find out where they work, etc. And if you're still in school, reach out to a teacher or somebody or just an adult mentor in your life, parent, etc., who can help you think about where you might be able to get the most information. And so while we talk about you should have some evidence that this is a problem, we're not saying that you need to write a thesis that talks about all of the issues in this thing. What we're just trying to say is have some data points that speak to how much of a problem this is and how the problem shows up. So we're not asking you for a page full of statistics or anything like that, I think is most important to know. The website FAQ states that teams shouldn't create a project that is overly partisan. When would civics education be considered partisan? Unfortunately, I think that from time to time it is. So an example would be if and young people would be that you refuse. You say in your proposal that you wouldn't approach, let's say you're a Republican and there's an issue that you want to work on and you say that, but I'm only going to work with other Republicans, or I don't want to work with those other people. We think that is in some ways partisan, and it doesn't speak to the purpose of this project is getting to solve solutions, and the only way to do that is to work with people who have different perspectives. So I think that's more in line with what we're talking about. For the 75 in-person and 300 virtual requirement, do indirect forms of engagement like shared resources count? Absolutely. You can talk about like who those resources touch. There was another question before about like what is an example of, I don't know if it was milestone or a project goal or something like that.
Project deliverable.
Project deliverable. A curriculum is a project deliverable. In that particular case, you would talk about like who did you deliver that project, that curriculum to? Did you do a workshop around that curriculum? Did you send that curriculum to 10 different schools and they're going to use some of the materials? Those are the kinds of examples that we're talking about. So yes, indirect forms of engagement, like shared resources count.
And another thing that I want to emphasize with the project deliverables, that's going to look completely different for what you're working on.
Yep.
No deliverable is the same. Some folks, they're creating an app. Some folks, they're creating a website for increased traffic where they host resources and they want to track, how many people or that resource or that website is reaching. Some it's like workshop, some it's an event, some it's a fundraiser, some it's a food pantry, like, how many people they serve. It's the numbers and like what exactly that deliverable or milestone is going to look completely different for each project. And it's really like based off like what you want to achieve.
All right. and what your measure of success is going to be. So here's another question, very important. All of these are really important and really, really good questions. How does the application review process work? Is there a rubric that the readers will have in mind? Yes, they will have it in mind and in front of them, going through the application, or is it more a qualitative process? So please know that there are a number of people involved in the application review process. Fellows, we really lean on our fellows. They will be part of the application review process. Our colleagues who are invested in civic engagement and sparking these 20 million young people to take civic action, they'll be involved in the process as well. And so there is a rubric that will be used to look at the different projects, to determine, like, which of the projects are really wonderful projects. And of course, in addition to that, we want to have a diversity. We don't want all of one kind of project. So we take those things into account as well. I believe.
Um, I think one thing that we might be able to lump together is there's one question that was asking like what are the common weaknesses we see in applications that don't get selected, and another question was like what have you seen as the biggest reason for why people are rejected. I think we could lump those together.
So the biggest reason, and we'll be honest. So somebody asked before, how competitive is the process? It is competitive, and it's competitive because, you heard about all the resources that are tied to the program. There's curriculum, there's a community of practice, there's payments to go for the team leads to come to New Jersey for 2.5 days, coaches, community mentors. There's a lot of funding that it takes in order to run the program. I told you last year there were 300 teams that applied. We could only select 100 of the 300 teams. So with regard to the question about that first question that you asked, Christine, it is. Christine, there was there was a piece of that question that I was just trying to respond to.
I think it was really about like what were like the weaknesses, or what was like the
The
main
weaknesses.
reason.
Yeah. So the main reason, so thank you. The
Yeah.
main reason is lack of funding. If we could fund 300 teams, we would fund 300 teams. In all honesty, there were very few, 90 to 95% of the projects that we looked at last year were really wonderful projects that would make a difference in those communities. And so it really is about when they were thoughtful, and people put their best effort into it. Many of them were good projects, and unfortunately, we just couldn't support all of them.
Another piece that I'd like to share, just for those, one, also just emphasizing it was very, very, very hard, and a good number of applicants reached out last year, like, why wasn't my project selected, or do you have any feedback to make our application stronger? And it was incredibly difficult to answer those questions because the applications that we received were very strong, and it wasn't a matter of what was necessarily missing. One thing that I'll emphasize for this year is just making sure that you fill out all of the information, in particular in the project narrative, and being very clear about what the issue is, what you really want to do, and just having clear milestones like listed out so that us and the selectors, when we're reading through, so that we have like a clear general picture of what you want to do. Again, doesn't need to be super fleshed out, doesn't need to be perfect, and will likely, as our current fellows have gone through, what you might change your project plan a little bit or might pivot. But what's very important as we review is just having a clear sense of what you want to do with the program and what it means to you.
And what it means to your community.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The impact that you are trying to achieve.
And in terms of project proposal being formatted for the application, in the application we have a template. You don't need to, you don't need to follow that exactly by T, just making sure that you address like the questions, aka you include the information that we're asking for in your project proposal narrative, but you can get as creative as you want with it. You don't need to have that same exact format. We encourage teams to apply in a way that really speaks to your work and what, your vibe.
So not to create, so there was a question about a 13-year-old applying. I think last year we said as long as they were 14 when the program started.
Yeah,
I just
that
wanted,
should yeah,
yeah.
that should be okay. So if you're
So
13,
somebody got an answer no, and I want to make sure that that person gets the right information.
thanks for pointing
Yeah.
that out, Audra. Um, if there's nothing local in your area that affects the issue, um, I'm not sure if I understand that question entirely. Directly affects the gap that you're if I understand that question correctly, if the issue that you want to tackle is more on like a city or a state level, that's completely fine. It doesn't need to be in your specific town. Um, yeah, that's completely fine. Just something that you are confident that you'll be able to work on. Yes, you absolutely can personally fund. We don't stop fellows from finding other sources of funding, whether that be from their parents, from their own allowance, or part-time jobs. Or if you'd like to apply for other funding or grants or fiscal sponsorship from other programs, we don't stop you from doing any of that, and we
Right.
encourage it.
We encourage it. Yeah. Um, so there is a question, is the word count extremely strict for the narrative? Also, could you have a slideshow and a traditional narrative both submitted? That's fine. That shows excitement. Feel free.
Um, and for SS, thank you. When does the program begin? To check the age requirement. The program technically formally begins July 27th, which is when the kickoff. So long as you're like 14 on that date, you should be good.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, okay, so if 90 to 90% of projects are really good, what would you say marks the difference between accepted and rejected applications? I
I think something really unique and different that we haven't seen before. Like
And if you want a sense of the projects that our current
last year.
fellows are working
Yeah.
on, let me link that in the chat.
Yeah.
It's on our CYL webpage, linked on our CYL webpage, but also want to bring it here directly. This is a list of essentially all of our fellows and an overview of the projects that they're working on. Specific traits or qualities we're looking for in applications or things you're really looking for in students.
I would say we're looking for young people who want to be engage in collaborative problem solving. So there's a sense of, we talk about some leadership values. There's a sense of humility, respect, responsibility, raising their hand to participate. We, we the challenge we see is that people are no longer talking to each other, we're talking past each other. So how do we respectfully try to not only talk together but work together on common problems? So I would say that.
Agreed. Um, and then there's a question, could you elaborate on the rubric?
So we are looking for, so the standard things in terms of comprehensiveness, et cetera. We're looking also to see how much this year we're really trying to drill down deeply into what are you going to be doing to engage in collaborative problem solving and constructive dialogue? How are you going to be using credible information, to support the way in which you tackle the issue. So I would really look at those things and think about how do those things focus and how do those things tie into the project and help make the project more impactful.
All right.
Uh, have we missed anything?
I think there's a new question
Okay, let me take a look.
we're trying to address. It's political challenger.
So I don't see it
Oh,
if you,
it's in the Q&A.
okay, sorry. Take a look over there.
But as we're deliberating on that, I can answer Daniel Zhang's. We are looking for projects from teams in Civic Deserts and teams who may not be the usual suspects who have access to these kind of opportunities, but please feel free to apply even if you're not in a Civic Desert. We are open to everyone and everyone.
So I may be missing the new question. Is it at the top
Okay.
or the bottom?
It's from Mikhail. Mikhail.
Oh, is it in the Q&A? Oh, it's in the
Yeah, it's in
Q&A.
the Q&A.
Sorry. Okay, I was looking at the other Q&A. Politically challenging. Do you have any advice on how we should approach this with care? Yes. Or is it better to take? Oop, oop, yeah. Um, that's a longer conversation. We need to set aside time because it's important. And I think I might connect you with Ryan. One of the projects that I mentioned that I highlighted at the top was the project in Florida. And they were really having people on their campus talk about really sensitive topics in a respectful way. So Mikhail, why don't you send this question to the civic education um, inbox, and we'll set aside some time to talk about how to, I'd love to hear your thoughts and offer potentially a thought or two.
Hey,
It will be about in terms of, oh, okay. Um, so I think, Max, I would love to talk to you about this question. The question about the rubric and the weighting of specific traits and categories. Anonymous attendee at 7:23. Can you please send that email to us, please?